Hello friends, welcome to Dungeons & Dragonfly, where I adapt various characters for use in D&D. I'm Dragonfly9078, and today I'm building the Heavy Weapons guy from Team Fortress 2. So what do we want from this build? Well, first of all, we need our minigun, a hulking weapon that can mow down swaths of enemies with its wide spray, even if it isn't the most accurate and is expensive to fire. Next, we need to be bulky. Heavy has the most HP of any character in the game, and he's classed as one of the defensive characters, so we need to soak up damage. Finally, we'll need a bite to eat, with a sandwich to keep our HP up, and I guess we can toss it out to our teammates to heal them as well. Looking over at ability scores, I'll be using the standard point array, and we actually don't have any multiclassing minimums to keep in mind. Starting off with a 14 in strength. Heavy doesn't bother with a baseball bat or a wrench when he gets into melee, he just pummels people with his bare fists. We'll dump dexterity. Heavy is slow, and we rely more on volume of fire rather than pinpoint accuracy, but constitution will be 15, so we can cap it off by the end and get the beef we need to stop bullets. Our 13 goes into intelligence. Heavy is smarter than he appears to be and plays chess with the medic, and he tends to be somewhat level-headed and even philosophical sometimes, so wisdom can be 12. Then we'll finish up with a 10 in charisma. He's not the most sociable of people, though he can be intimidating when he wants to be. Heavy is big and sturdy, so we'll make him a Goliath, giving us +2 to our strength and +1 to our constitution, rounding both off to 16. We are Russian, meaning we have resistance to cold damage, and we acclimate quickly to high altitudes. And thanks to our huge stature, we get proficiency in athletics, and count as one size larger in terms of our carrying capacity. We can also shrug off damage that we take with Stone's Endurance. A number of times per day equal to our proficiency, we can use our reaction when we take damage to reduce that damage by 1d12 plus our constitution modifier. Following the rest of the team's lead, we're a mercenary veteran. Normally that gives us athletics and persuasion, but we already have athletics, so we'll switch that out for history for our PhD in Russian literature, and switch persuasion for intimidation since, it's more of our style. We will still pick up proficiency with chess and land vehicles, though. Now, as you may have noticed, I said we don't have any multiclassing minimums, so we're going to take a full 20 levels of Ranger. We get 3 Ranger skills, we'll say Insight, Perception, and Survival. And as a canny Deft Explorer, we can upgrade our athletics proficiency to an Expertise. The man can hold open blast doors and suplex a grizzly bear. He needs to be strong. We'll take the revised version of Favored Enemy, naming Humanoids, so we get +2 to our weapon damage against humanoids, as well as advantage on intelligence and survival checks about them. All of the mercenaries are humanoid races, and they're 90% of who the Heavy fights. For our fighting style, we'll look to the Unearthed Arcana to grab Unarmed Fighting. That lets us use a d6 for our unarmed strike damage, or a d8 if we have both hands free. We can also deal a free d4 of damage to a creature when we grapple them, or hit them with a melee attack while we're grappling them. There aren't a lot of spells that Heavy needs, or wants even, but Hail of Thorns will serve as our shotgun. It casts as a bonus action, and the next time within a minute that we hit with a ranged weapon attack, the arrow explodes into thorns, dealing 1d10 piercing damage to the target and any creatures within 5 feet of it if they fail a dexterity save, half that on a success. Incidentally, since we are the Heavy Weapons guy, it only makes sense to use a heavy crossbow for this. 3rd level Rangers get Primeval Awareness, letting them concentrate for a minute to tell where their favorite enemies are within 5 miles, but TF2 doesn't have a minimap, so we don't really care about it. More importantly, we'll become a Primeval Guardian, a subclass from Unearthed Arcana that I honestly never thought I would have occasion to use. The main thing this gives us is Guardian Soul. As a bonus action, we can enter a Guardian form, which grows us to large, increases our reach by 5 feet, and gives us half our Ranger level and temporary HP at the start of each of our turns. The downside is, it drops our speed to 5 feet, which is a huge problem for most characters, but absolutely in flavor for the Heavy, since he slows to a crawl while spinning up the minigun. The Guardian form lasts until we end it as a bonus action or we're incapacitated, and there's no limit to the number of times we can enter it, so we can post up in a choke point, spin up our gun, and stop spinning if we need to move. There's also Piercing Thorns. Once per turn when we hit with a weapon attack, we can slip on the Warrior's Spirit to deal an additional 1d6 piercing damage with our bare hands. Not to be confused with our bare hands. We also get a free spell of each spell level as we level up. This level we get Entangle, but for the most part we want to save our spell slots, so we don't really care. At 4th level we'll grab the Tough Feet for an extra 2 HP for each level we have and each level we get, for a total of 40 extra HP at level 20. Then at 5th level we can throw 2 punches instead of 1 with the attack action, and we get 2nd level spells. Enhance Ability is our spell from Primeval Guardian, which can be useful, but Rangers get somewhat limited slots, so Hail of Thorns remains the higher priority. We will make an exception for Bark Skin, though. That'll boost our AC to 16 for up to an hour with our concentration. For our greater favorite enemy, we'll say Constructs. If humanoids are 90% of what we fight, I'd say a big chunk of the rest is either manbots or engineer buildings. We get the same benefits to intelligence and survival checks as we do for humanoids, but our weapon damage against both goes up to +4. And we get an advantage on saves against spells and effects made by constructs. Machines are easier to predict than humans. Then Deft Explorer gives us Roving, increasing our speed by 5 feet. That's a bit annoying. Heavy is the slowest character, but we can drop our speed to 5 feet at will, so whatever. We do get swimming and climbing speeds as well. 7th level Primeval Guardians get Ancient Fortitude. Once per rest, when we enter our Guardian form, we can choose to increase our current and max HP by 2 for every Ranger level we have. That's effectively a free double up on our tough feat once per rest. Our max HP goes back to normal when we drop out of our Guardian form, but our current HP only goes down if it's over our regular maximum, so we can use this when we're hurting to scarf down a sandwich for a big HP boost. We'll use our first actual ASI to bump our Constitution to 18 for some extra bulk, and we get Land Stride. We ignore all non-magical difficult terrain, useful when we only have 5 feet of movement, and we have advantage on saves against magical plants that try to slow us down, like from Entangle. For 3rd level spells, we don't care about Conjure Animals from our Guardian magic, because we finally get Sasha with Conjure Barrage. We blast a 60-foot cone with bolts from our heavy crossbow, dealing 3d8 piercing damage to any creatures in the area who fail a dexterity save, half on a success. This is our primary attack that most of our spell slots should go to, saving the crossbow and Hail of Thorns for smaller groups at longer range, and our fists for folks who get up close. The revised version of Hide in Plain Sight gives creatures -10 to spot us if we remain motionless while we hide, though we aren't really good at hiding anyway. Then we become a tireless Deft Explorer. A number of times per day equal to our proficiency bonus, we can use our action to gain 1d8 plus our wisdom modifier temp HP. Do note, temporary HP doesn't stack, so if we're in a fight, it's usually better to just stick with the free temp HP every turn from our Guardian form, just save this for when we need to move between points. We also reduce our exhaustion level by 1 on short rests, not just long ones. 11th level Primeval Guardians have Rooted Defense. While we're in our Guardian form, the ground in a 30-foot radius around us is difficult terrain, but only to our enemies, not our friends. Then we'll use our next ASI to boost our wisdom, get that Conjure Barrage save DC a little higher, and pretty much just skip past 4th level spells entirely. We get Giant Insect from Primeval Guardian, but that's a spell slot we can use to fire Sasha. Rangers can hide as a bonus action at 14th level, and at 15th, Primeval Guardians get a Guardian Aura to throw our sandwiches to our teammates. While in our Guardian form, if one of our allies starts their turn within 30 feet of us, they regain half our Ranger level in HP, though only if they're below half their total health. We can keep them alive, but a sandwich is no replacement for a proper medic. This also doesn't affect undead or constructs, so no teaming up with the manbots. We'll cap off our Constitution at 16th level, then get 5th level spells. Guardian spell here is Insect Plague, and we can give Sasha an upgrade with Conjure Volley, raining projectiles down on a 40-foot radius, 20-foot high cylinder, dealing 8d8 damage to anyone who fails a dexterity save. Personally, I'd prefer to just use our 5th level slots for the regular Conjure Barrage since Volley doesn't have the minigun's cone-shaped area, but sometimes we need the extra damage. Our Feral Senses help us spy check. We don't get disadvantage for attacking an enemy we can't see, and we know the locations of any invisible creatures within 30 feet of us, as long as they aren't actively hiding and we aren't blinded or deafened. Our last ASI goes to our Wisdom to get our save DC up, and our capstone is the 20th level of Ranger for Foe Slayer. Once per turn when we attack one of our favorite enemies, we can add our Wisdom modifier to either our attack or damage roll, and we can choose which after making our attack roll. Our Wisdom is 16 at this point, so an extra +3 likely won't make a huge difference, but it can help out our crossbow shots a bit since those use our low dexterity. Now that the build is complete, let's take a look and see what we have done. Well, we probably aren't going to die. Like, ever. We have over 250 HP on average, plus an extra 40 from Ancient Fortitude, damage reduction from Stone's Endurance, and just so much temporary HP to pad our health out even further. That huge bulk lends itself very well to our job of standing in one place and stopping people from coming by us, as do our enhanced reach and our aura of difficult terrain, having our enemies speed when they get close. Plus those pesky spies can't even sneak past thanks to our Feral Senses. And we can keep our squad healthy, both by healing them with our aura every turn if they're below half health, and just by providing cover. Heavy is a big dude, and he can become large, so Medic can just hide behind him and keep his ridiculous health topped up. That said, our biggest weakness I would say is that our damage is relatively low. If we're using Conjure Barrage as our main attack, which is the most thematic option, it only deals 3d8 on a failed save, which isn't great for a 3rd level spell slot. It also doesn't scale with slot level. A 5th level Conjure Barrage still only deals 3d8, so save those slots for Conjure Volley instead. That's another big one actually. Our main attack is tied to our spell slots, so we've only got 6 barrages and 2 volleys per day. Past that, we're using our low dex for crossbow shots at range. Up close we're a little better though. Our unarmed strikes are pretty solid, though admittedly they're not magical, so that could cause some issues. Other than that, the big issue is the exact reason I never thought I'd use Primeval Guardian. That 5-foot movement speed sucks. If we're put in a position where we're able to just defend a choke point or something, then we're set. But not being able to move quickly can be a huge liability in lots of situations.
Some people think they can outsmart me. Maybe. I've yet to meet one that can outsmart Bullet.
Thank you for watching, friends. I hope you enjoyed the build. No poll this week. Next build is a patron request. If you have any feedback or suggestions for characters you'd like to see me build, please leave them in the comments below and they could show up in a future poll. Leave a like or subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks again for watching. I will see y'all later.